Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose, and hopefully, yes, hopefully YouTube actually works today. I know a lot of people were wondering why yesterday's video was so late, and that was because YouTube had some type of widespread bug where it just couldn't process videos. So unfortunately, I just couldn't upload the video last night, but hey, you know, the good news here, there's a little bit of a silver lining, is that you technically get 2 videos today. And I do want to say, for everybody who reached out last night with kind words, you all are truly awesome. However, if you did miss this morning's video, it is up now, where I do talk about new Xbox Game Pass games. By the way, amazing lineup, so do go check out that video. But for today, hopefully, as long as it actually uploads this time, we're going to talk about a big Xbox Series game that just leaked out online. Now, this is an older build from my understanding, but wow, it really looks like it's shaping up to be a premier exclusive title for the Xbox Series when it does release. Also, the ongoing controversy for Bayonetta 3 just kind of flipped the script, and now there's a very real question. Did Helena Taylor lie about what she was offered to reprise her role? Yeah, regardless, this is not a good look, so we're going to go over that one today as well, plus plenty more. As always, though, just a little bit of a reminder for those buttons below. You can't miss them. I mean, unless you're the Lakers from 3, they miss everything. But do hit those buttons below, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. With that said, though, let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with the new Sims game. You know what? It's almost hard to believe, but this is actually the first time that I've talked about The Sims on this channel. I mean, that's crazy to me, considering the popularity of this franchise. But we haven't seen a new mainline Sims game since 2014. Now, I'm not really a huge Sims fan myself. I mean, they are pretty fun games. They're very goofy, depending on how you play. And I've definitely played them before. My sister actually loves this franchise. But this is an extremely popular series. And well, I do bring you Sims fans some good news today. During a live stream, a new Sims game was officially announced under the codename Project Renee. Now, the thing about this is that they're not saying whether or not this is Sims 5, but what we do know is that it's still early in development, so don't expect to play this game anytime soon. It's probably still years away. And then also, it appears it has a big multiplayer aspect to it, where it's easy to work together and then share with others. So there you have it. There's not really many details on it just yet, but the fact that The Sims is coming back, yeah, I'd say that that's exciting news for the Sims community. Now, we do also have some PlayStation Plus games to talk about today, as they just released a huge batch of games. Now, to be more precise here, I'm talking about 21 total games, and I'll just kind of go down the list here. So this lineup includes GTA Vice City, the Definitive Edition. It has Dragon Quest XI, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2, then Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. So, I mean, you Dragon Quest fans are pretty happy right now. But then also Inside, The Medium, Naruto Striker, Assassin's Creed China, India, Russia, and Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. You also have Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Hohokum. Then for the PlayStation Plus Premium and Classic titles, this will include Yakuza 3 through 5 Remastered, Limbo, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, and then Everyday Shooter. So yeah, there's a lot of games here, and there's actually some really good games on this list. Dragon Quest XI, that's an easy recommend for fans of turn-based JRPGs. That's actually one of the best to release in years and years. Also, Dragon Quest Builders 2. Don't forget about that game. It is highly overlooked. Then for Assassin's Creed fans, you got multiple titles here, and Odyssey, that was on here as well. That's a big release. And I think The Medium, this is an underrated horror game, as long as you kind of understand it's more of a walking simulator than it is a flat-out action-driven title. It does have a good story, though, in my opinion, and I do love its atmosphere. It's very unique and interesting. Overall, though, despite them having a lot of interesting titles here, and really just, you know, a lot of titles in general, I'd say that this lineup is kind of a premier example of some of this service's issues as well. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of games here, no doubt about it, but they're all older games, and it really just kind of depends if you've played these games or not. See, I think for me, I don't know if I've ever stayed subscribed to a service that doesn't give me consistently new content to look forward to. I want to be able to jump into a subscription service every single month and have something to look forward to, and I don't think that you really get that with PlayStation Plus. It just feels like you're kind of rolling the dice. Am I going to get a new game to look forward to, or am I not? So in my opinion, PlayStation Plus really does need consistent, interesting day one titles, and outside of Stray, Sony just doesn't seem to be investing into those type of games. The other problem that I have with what they're doing, though, is that they're splitting up their service too much. I see no reason whatsoever that Yakuza 3 through 5 Remastered should be locked behind the premium tier. And then lastly, what is up with their classic offerings? Where are the PlayStation 1 games? What about PlayStation 2? These consoles are immensely popular and they have a treasure trove of games, and we get absolutely none here. Instead, they're relying on the PlayStation 3, which, by the way, cannot be played natively on the PlayStation 5. These are cloud-based games. So I don't know. Sony is just so weird when it comes to their subscription service. It, to me, feels like they have one foot in and one foot out. It's really starting to look like Microsoft was, they're correct in what they say. Sony is apprehensive in investing into a subscription service like this to compete with Xbox Game Pass. Meanwhile, they're paying to block Game Pass games. I mean, you would think that money could be better used as a way to improve their own service, but okay, I guess. Now, I keep hoping that they'll do better, and to be fair, I do think that Sony has improved over the last couple years, but I still need to see some more improvements, and I'm just not seeing that here. For me, all they have to do is just consistently get interesting day one titles, and a lot of my criticism will just go away. I mean, again, it's great that they're getting all of these other games. There's definitely some high-quality titles here, but I think that those are more of additives rather than the main selling point of a service like this. I mean, I guess one way I could kind of say this is that maybe if you're new to gaming or you just bought a PlayStation or something, you could kind of get a service like this and kind of get caught up with a lot of games that you might have missed out on. But if you are somebody that plays a lot of games, I mean, then there's a good chance that you've already played the games that you were interested in. So I do think that they need more consistency when it comes to day one titles. I guess we'll see, though, but let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. Have you been impressed with their offering since they introduced this multifaceted tier concept? Let's go talk about this Xbox leak, though, and this is for Avowed. Now, so far we've only seen a short glimpse of this game, which essentially reveals that it's a first-person RPG set in the Pillars of Eternity world. Now, personally, I think that alone is pretty exciting for three main reasons. One is coming from Obsidian Entertainment, and we know for a fact that they know how to make good RPGs. They're really among the best in the industry at doing that, so to see them get a real budget working under the Xbox umbrella this time, that's pretty exciting. Two is that it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. Pillars of Eternity is great, so I want to see how that transfers into a first-person RPG. Lastly, it kind of looks like Obsidian's take on the Elder Scrolls franchise. Of course, they've kind of had their take on Fallout, but now this time it looks like they're kind of taking a little bit more inspiration from games like Skyrim. So, I mean, the general concept of all of this on paper, it sounds good. I mean, it sounds really good. But now it's getting even more interesting because an image of gameplay did find its way online. Now, sadly, I'm not going to show the image on my channel for copyright-related reasons. I'm always very weary of posting leaks like this, but I will leave a link in the description below so you can check the image out yourself. What I will say, though, is that it looks very good from an artistic point of view. Graphically, it's impressive, and it also reveals a key detail on its gameplay. Now, we'll kind of get back to that here in just a second, but it is important to note here that this is allegedly an older image, so technically, Avowed probably looks even better now, which is kind of crazy to think about considering I already think that this looks pretty good. Now, nonetheless, though, this image basically shows somebody playing in first-person view where they're using magic in both hands. Now, this does line up with leaks that we've heard about this game, and for that matter, it lines up with its original teaser trailer. Right at the end of that trailer, you see somebody wielding a sword in their right hand, and then in their left hand, they're doing some type of magical-based attack. And that appears to be the main focus on its combat. Again, this kind of reminds me of Skyrim to an extent, but it sounds more elaborate in Avowed. Of course, this is coming from the Pillars of Eternity world, so you'll probably see some very interesting magic-based attacks. You know, those different spells that kind of leans into different classes and builds that you kind of see within Pillars of Eternity. but it seems like you'll be able to customize your character in a way to really combine and wield different types of magics, melee weapons, and then maybe even possibly guns. That was a part of Pillars of Eternity too, so maybe, but it seems like there's going to be some cool and interesting combinations within Avowed. The thing about this image though is that despite it being older, it really does look good in my opinion, and that makes me wonder on how far along this game is. Is this something that we're going to start to see soon? And I think that that's a yes. I think that there's a very good chance that Xbox is going to start marketing their next wave of games sometime here soon, and that will include, yes, Avowed. Also probably Hellblade 2, maybe Perfect Dark, I'm very excited for that one. Fable, that's still coming. There's State of Decay 3. We haven't heard much from the Coalition here recently. And then there's also Compulsion's next game. They are working on some type of single-player story-driven new IP, I believe, and I think that there's a good chance that some of those games are going to start to ramp up their marketing sometime here in the near future, and that's just the ones that we know about. There's still a lot of unannounced games, but maybe they'll have a big gameplay reveal for some of the already announced games at the Game Awards, and then after that, all eyes are on next year's E3 or whatever big event happens in June, Summer Game Fest, whatever. What I do know though is that their pipeline right now, it's pretty clogged up. There's definitely going to be some big reveals from Xbox next year, and one of those premier titles looks to be Avowed. Now, we also got an update for that Bayonetta 3 situation. We did talk a little bit about this during yesterday's poll, or this morning actually, but I wanted to do a little bit more research before completely diving into this subject. This is a very touchy subject that's had a strong emotional response from people across the world, and not just from the game industry. As you all know, Helena Taylor claimed that she was only offered $4,000 at a flat rate to reprise her role in Bayonetta 3. She felt that this was insulting to her and made several videos on the subject asking fans to boycott the game. Now, the initial video apparently has reached 9.5 million views, so with that, there's been an outpouring emotional response online. Now, as soon as this happened, though, I knew that this was an evolving story because we're really only hearing one side. We still needed to hear from Nintendo and Platinum Games to elaborate on whether or not that this was true or what's going on here. Well, neither company are coming out publicly saying anything, but it does look like some different documents and internal leaks have made their way to Bloomberg. Just found their way over there. But let's just go and check out what they had to say. So as you can see here, Bloomberg says, in the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to two people familiar with the negotiations, as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Now that's actually an important part, but here's where their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio, said the people, who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss private contract negotiations. That would make the total for the game at least $15,000. In response, they said Taylor asked for a 6-figure sum, as well as residuals on the game. Platinum declined, and following lengthy negotiations, took auditions for a new actor. Now, Helena has since denied this report and says that she wants to move on, but the Video Game Chronicle also corroborated this as well. So now this whole situation has completely flipped. I mean, Bloomberg even claims that they've seen some type of documentation. Now, I don't know exactly what this documentation is, but I mean, there is this question now on who is telling the truth. See, this is kind of that thing, though, is that, maybe you shouldn't believe everything as soon as you hear it. There are always two sides of every story, and as much as I think we want to believe everybody is good and that people don't lie, that's just not true. Now, I'm not saying that Helena is a bad person. I don't know her personally, and the truth is, I don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes, but there are two very different sides of the story here, and now that information is coming out that she might have actually been offered between $15,000 to $20,000, that sounds a lot better than what she originally claimed. And that's actually another part of the story that I think is a little misrepresented. There's been a lot of talk about how much Platinum Games has made on this franchise, and I feel like that number is a little misconstrued. Let's say that Platinum Games has made $500 million on Bayonetta. That does not mean that is profit. That's not what that means at all. And, in fact, Bayonetta is a little bit more of a niche franchise. This is not a franchise that's going out and putting up Mario type of numbers. It's not selling as much as Zelda or whatever else. This is a niche franchise at the end of the day. So I do feel that that number is a little bit misconstrued. Nonetheless, though, with all of that said, regardless of this situation, how much Helene Taylor has been offered, and the whole boycott issue, if there's one good outcome that came from this whole ordeal, is that at the very least, it did bring more awareness to voice actors and how much they get paid. I actually never really knew how much they got compensated, but different voice talents have since come out expressing that they too have felt undervalued in different situations. So I think with how much press this story has gotten, this could be a good thing for voice actors and actresses in the long term. So if there's a silver lining here, regardless of who's telling the truth or who's not, at least we can kind of view that as a good thing. I mean, I guess we'll see. But as for Bayonetta 3 and this particular controversy, you might want to look at both sides of the story before necessarily just jumping onto that supposed boycott, which, by the way, actually has not seemed to be very successful so far. But yes, might want to look at both sides. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, what Day 1 Xbox Game Pass game are you looking forward to playing the most throughout the rest of October? And wow, this is actually the first time I'm looking at the results here. But okay, so you have A Plague Tale Requiem at 57%, getting the majority of the votes. Persona 5 Royal sits in second place with 37%, and then you have Signalist at 1%, Gunfire Reborn at 4%, and Phantom Abyss at 1%. Now, you know, that's actually a little unfortunate. I'd like to see Signalist especially be a little bit higher. I think that game looks good. It reminds me a lot of the classic Resident Evil franchise. It's got that set camera angle and everything, and yeah, it's more of a classic horror game. I think it looks pretty good, so I'd actually like to see that a little higher here. But you know what, honestly, I understand why Plague Tale and Persona 5 just kind of ran away with the votes here. These are big, much anticipated Day 1 releases, and they're already proving to be great titles. It does look like A Plague Tale Requiem is one of the best new releases for the entire year. And then when it comes to Persona 5 Royal, I mean, this is one of the greatest JRPGs to ever exist. Xbox fans have been waiting to play this game for a very long time, and it is finally happening and will release into the service Xbox Game Pass Day 1. Yeah, I can understand why you all are excited for these games, but I do want to highlight games like Signalist, and actually also I do want to highlight Phantom Abyss as well. This is another one that got 1%. I actually went back and watched a trailer of this earlier. This game actually looks pretty good. It's kind of like this 3D platform, which you all know I like 3D platformers, where you kind of have to complete different trials and stuff. It actually looks pretty good, so do keep an eye on that one as well. I mean, that's what you're seeing in this October, though. This October for Xbox Game Pass is truly insane. Going back through the comments, though, let's just take a look here at what you all had to say. As you can see here, Undead Mercenary said, I don't know, to be honest. I'm finding it hard to keep up with it. And you know what? I feel you here. I understand the feeling. It is getting difficult to keep up with Game Pass, but hey, that's a good problem to have. You know, they just have so many interesting Day 1 releases on a monthly basis, but I think especially this month, this is probably one of the best months for Game Pass, just top to bottom, since its inception. And there's really been some good months up to this point. Then here from Assassin, they say, happy to see many people in the Xbox community ready to play Persona 5, including myself. And yeah, I completely agree. Though I'm going to take that a step further here. I'm genuinely happy for the entire game industry. This is a franchise that should have been multi-platform years ago. It's baffling that it took Sega and Atlas this long, but hey, it's finally available on everything. It's on PlayStation, it's on Nintendo, Xbox, and PC, so I'm happy for everybody. I'm actually going to purchase Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch myself. I do want to play it on a handheld, but as for you Xbox fans out there, do check Persona 5 out, especially if you're a subscriber. Even if you're kind of new to this genre, give it a try. That's the beauty of something like Xbox Game Pass. It can legitimately introduce you to new genres and games that you might have missed otherwise. And let me tell you, you should not miss out on Persona. Now, as for me, though, I am with the majority here since I have played Persona 5 already. My most anticipated that actually Plague Tale Requiem. I still have yet to actually get to play this because I was focused on YouTube last night, but I am really excited to play this one, as I did love Innocence. That was an excellent story-driven game, and I'm very excited for its sequel. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.